I've always preferred driving at night. I'm from Long Island, and if you've ever tried to leave New York during the day, you know it's a special kind of torture. The traffic is soul-crushing. My brother moved to Florida a few years ago, and I drive down to visit him often. I usually leave around 2 a.m. to beat the morning rush out of the city. It's an 18-hour drive, but I actually enjoy the solitude of the open road in the dark. This particular trip started like any other. I grabbed a large coffee, blasted my playlist, and cruised through New Jersey while the rest of the world slept. It was smooth sailing until around 4 a.m. when my stomach started to growl. I was in the middle of nowhere in Jersey, a stretch of highway where the streetlights disappear and the trees crowd the road. I saw a sign for food, Wendy's, next exit. Perfect. I pulled off the highway. The area was desolate. No gas stations, no houses, just darkness and woods. I followed the signs until the glowing red logo of Wendy's appeared like an oasis. I pulled into the lot. It was dim, but the menu board was lit up, which usually means they're open. There was one other car in the lot, parked way in the back corner near the woods, facing out. I drove up to the speaker and waited. "Hello?" I said. Silence. I waited another minute, nothing. I pulled out my phone to check their hours and my heart sank. They didn't open until 6 a.m. The lights were just automatic. I sighed and put my car in drive, ready to leave. Suddenly, rap, 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 3 sharp knocks on my passenger window. I jumped so hard I almost hit the ceiling. I looked over to see a man standing right outside my door. He was smiling, a wide, overly friendly smile that didn't reach his eyes. He motioned for me to roll down the window. I cracked it about an inch. "Can I help you?" I asked, keeping my foot on the brake. "They aren't open," he said, pointing at the building. "Yeah, I figured that out," I replied, inching my car forward. "Hey, wait," he shouted. "I'm stranded. That's my car over there." He pointed to the vehicle in the dark corner. "My battery died. I've been stuck here for hours. Can you please give me a jump? I have cables." I looked at him. He seemed desperate. I looked at his car. It was just sitting there. I'm a big believer in karma. If I left this guy here in the dark, I felt like something bad would happen to me down the road. "Okay," I said hesitantly. "I can help." He thanked me profusely and backed away. I swung my car around and pulled up next to his, nose to nose. I popped my hood and got out. The parking lot was dead silent except for the wind in the trees. He hooked up the cables. I got back in my car and revved the engine. "Try it now," I yelled. He got in his car and turned the key. Nothing. We tried again and again. It didn't make sense. He said he had just been driving, so the battery shouldn't be this dead. "Hold on," he said. "Let me call my friend. He knows about cars." He walked away, speaking into his phone in hushed, rapid Spanish. I stood by my car, checking my watch, feeling my anxiety start to climb. This was taking too long. He came back smiling. "One more try," he said. My friend said to give it a minute. I was about to say yes when I heard it. The roar of engines. 2 pickup trucks came tearing around the corner of the Wendy's building, tires screeching. They didn't pass by. They turned straight into the lot. They pulled up directly behind my car, blocking me in. My stomach dropped to the floor. It was a trap. I looked at the man. His smile had changed. It wasn't friendly anymore. It was predatory. He looked at me like a wolf looking at a trapped rabbit. "Oh no," I whispered. I ripped the cables off my battery, threw them on the ground, and slammed my hood. But I couldn't back out. The trucks were inches from my bumper. I didn't think, I just reacted. I locked my car with the fob, turned, and sprinted toward the woods. "Hey!" the man shouted. I heard car doors opening and heavy boots hitting the pavement. I didn't look back. I dove into the tree line. thorns and branches tearing at my clothes and skin. I ran until my lungs burned. Then I dove behind a fallen log and curled into a ball, covering my mouth to stifle my breathing. I heard them, 3 or 4 men shouting in Spanish, sweeping the edge of the woods with flashlights. The beams cut through the trees above my head. I pressed my face into the dirt, praying they wouldn't see me. After what felt like an eternity, the voices faded. They gave up on chasing me. But then a new sound cut through the night, the blaring of my car alarm. Then the sound of shattering glass. I lay there for 20 minutes, shivering, until I heard the trucks roar away. Silence returned to the parking lot. I crept back to the edge of the woods. The trucks were gone. The man's car was gone. Only my car remained. I walked up to it and my heart broke. The rear window was smashed in. The trunk was popped open. My suitcase, my laptop bag, my clothes for the month, my jewelry, everything was gone. They had stripped it clean. I stood there in the empty, dark parking lot and cried. I called the police, but I knew it was useless. The officer told me later that the man's car had fake plates and the trucks had no plates at all. It was a professional crew. They used my kindness against me. They lured me into a spot where I was helpless and took everything. I still believe in karma, and I just hope it comes for them one day. I never thought I'd be living back with my parents in my 20s, but life has a funny way of humbling you. After a messy breakup in Boston, let's just say I learned the hard way never to sign a lease with a guy you barely know. I had to retreat to my childhood home in western Massachusetts. If you know anything about Massachusetts, you know the western part is a different world. It's rural, quiet, and for a city girl like me, incredibly boring. The silence out here at night is heavy, the kind that makes you feel like you're the only person left on earth. I picked up shifts at my old job at an urgent care facility to save money. They were happy to have me back, but the only shifts available were the overnights. I didn't mind the work, but the hours wrecked my sleep schedule and left me driving home on empty, dark roads at 4 a.m. every day. One morning after a particularly long shift, I clocked out at 4 a.m. I was starving, so I stopped at a 24-hour bagel place to grab a chicken sandwich and a salad for dinner. The plan was to go home, eat, and crash. But first, I needed gas. I pulled into the local Shell station. It's one of the few places open that late, sitting like a beacon of fluorescent light in the middle of the dark woods. The parking lot is massive and usually empty, which always gave me the creeps, even in broad daylight. I went inside to pay cash to save a few cents. The attendant looked half asleep. When I walked back out to my car, the isolation was broken. A blue sedan had pulled up to a pump on the other side of the island. A man got out. He looked average, maybe a bit unkempt, but nothing that screamed danger immediately. I started pumping my gas, trying to ignore him. But then I noticed he had locked his nozzle so the gas would pump automatically. He wasn't watching his car, he was walking toward me. He cut right through the narrow gap between the pumps and stopped uncomfortably close to me. "Want to see a funny trick?" he asked. His voice was slurred, his eyes wide and unblinking. Every alarm bell in my head went off. I wanted to ignore him, but instinct told me not to antagonize him. "What's the trick?" I asked, my voice tight. He held up his hand and performed that childish, detached thumb trick, where you pretend to pull your thumb off your hand. He kept looking down at his hands, then up at me with this twisted, sarcastic smirk. It was like he knew it was stupid, but he was testing me, seeing how I'd react. "Ha ha!" I fake laughed, taking a step back toward my driver's side door. "That's great." I looked away, praying for the pump to click off. But he didn't leave. He just stood there, doing the trick over and over, staring at the side of my head. Finally, the nozzle clicked. Thank God. I racked it as fast as I could, my hands shaking slightly. I practically ran inside to get my change, hoping he'd be gone when I came back. When I stepped back outside, the blue sedan was there, still pumping gas, but the man was gone. I scanned the lot. Nothing. He must have gotten back in his car. I didn't wait to find out. I jumped into my car, locked the doors immediately, and sped out of there. The drive home was a blur of paranoia. I checked my rearview mirror every 10 seconds, but the road behind me was pitch black. No headlights, no blue sedan. I started to relax. I got home in about 5 minutes. My parents' house was dark and silent. I grabbed the spare key from its hiding spot under a rock in the garden, let myself in, and immediately hid the key back outside. It was a habit we'd always had. I locked the deadbolt behind me. I always do. The house felt safe, wrapped in that familiar, sleepy silence. I went straight to the kitchen, unpacked my food, and sat down to eat. I was mid-bite when I heard it, the distinct click of the front door unlocking, then the squeak of the hinges, and the soft thud of the door closing. I froze, my heart hammered against my ribs. "Mom, Dad," I called out, my voice trembling. Silence. No footsteps, no reply, just the settling of the house. I moved quietly to the foyer. It was empty. The door was closed, but I knew I had heard it open. Panic surged through me. I sprinted up the stairs, bursting into my parents' bedroom. "Someone's in the house," I whispered frantically. They woke up confused and groggy. My dad, bless him, didn't hesitate. He jumped out of bed, grabbed a heavy flashlight, and headed downstairs. I followed him, turning on every single light switch I passed, flooding the house with safety. My dad checked the front door. It was locked. But when he went outside to check the hiding spot, the spare key was gone. That's when the true horror set in. Someone had used the key. My mom started lecturing me about being careless, but I was too terrified to listen. We began a room-by-room search. Kitchen, clear. Living room, clear. Bathroom, clear. My dad went to check the basement, a place I refused to go. I stayed on the main floor with my mom. Something drew me toward the dining room. It was dark in there, the only room we hadn't fully lit up. I walked in slowly, the long tablecloth draped down to the floor. I don't know why I did it, but I knelt down and lifted the edge of the cloth. 2 eyes stared back at me. It was him, the man from the gas station. He was curled up in a ball under our dining room table, grinning that same sick, sarcastic grin. I screamed, a sound I didn't even know I could make. My mom started screaming too. My dad came thundering up the basement stairs, looking for the threat. The man scrambled out from under the table like a spider. He didn't run. He attacked. He lunged at my dad, swinging wild punches. My dad is 65. He held his own, but this guy was younger and desperate. Seeing my dad struggle snapped something in me. My mom and I jumped in. It was chaos. 3 of us against this stranger in our dining room. We were hitting, scratching, shoving, doing anything to get him off. Finally realized he was outnumbered. The man broke free, shoved my dad into a wall, and bolted out the front door, disappearing into the night. We called 911, shaking and sobbing. The police arrived quickly, but he was gone. He still had our house key. That night, a patrol car sat in our driveway, and my dad slept in a chair against the front door with a baseball bat. We changed the locks the next day. I still feel guilty. I led a predator right to my family's doorstep. I never saw his car behind me, which means he must have followed me with his headlights off, hunting in the dark. I'm never hiding a key outside again. We've all been there. You're on a long road trip, powering through the night, caffeine in your veins trying to make good time, you pass those blue rest area signs and tell yourself, I can make it to the next one. I was on hour 10 of a 15-hour drive up the East Coast. It was deep into the night, maybe 3 a.m. The highway was empty, just an endless ribbon of asphalt lit by my high beams. I was in a desolate stretch of road. I won't say exactly where, but it was one of those areas where the radio signal dies and it's just you and the static. I needed to use the bathroom badly, and my legs were cramping from sitting so long. I saw the sign, Rest Area 1 mile. Thank God. I signaled and took the exit ramp, the darkness swallowing my car as I left the highway. It was one of those small, creepy rest stops. Just a brick building with restrooms and a couple of vending machines buzzing in the corner. No gas station, no attendants. The parking lot was empty except for one other car parked under a flickering street lamp. It was idling, but the windows were tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. I parked a few spots away, grabbed my phone, and got out. The silence was unnerving. I walked quickly to the men's room, trying not to look at the idling car. I pushed the heavy door open and stepped into the fluorescent glare of the bathroom. I stopped dead in my tracks. There was a man standing in the corner of the room. He wasn't using the urinal. He wasn't washing his hands. He was standing in the far corner, facing the wall, with his head bowed down, staring at the floor. The hair on my arm stood up. It was such unnatural behavior. I stood by the door, holding my breath, waiting for him to move. He didn't flinch. I debated turning around and leaving, but my bladder was screaming. Just go quick and get out, I told myself. I walked to the urinal furthest from him, keeping my eyes glued to his back. It was dead silent. No water running, no fan, just the hum of the lights. I couldn't even go. My body was too tense. I stood there for a minute, faking it, then flushed the toilet just to make noise. As I turned to leave, I looked at the corner again. The man had turned around. He was standing in the exact same spot, but now he was facing me. He was tall, gaunt, with pale, papery skin, but it was his eyes that terrified me. They were wide, unblinking, and fixed right on my face. He wore a totally blank expression, like a mannequin. I froze. My instincts screamed predator. I mumbled a quick, "How's it going?" just to break the tension. But he didn't blink. He didn't speak. He just stared. I bolted. I practically ran out of the bathroom, jumped into my car, and locked the doors. As I threw it into reverse, I looked in my rearview mirror. The bathroom door opened and the man stepped out. He began walking directly toward my car. I slammed on the gas and peeled out of the parking lot, my heart racing. I got back on the highway and sped up to 80, putting as much distance between me and that place as possible. I calmed down after a few miles, but the problem remained. I still hadn't used the bathroom. I told myself I'd stop at the next one. Surely it would be busy and safe. 20 minutes later, another rest area appeared. I pulled in. It was identical to the first one, same brick building, same layout. But this lot was completely empty. No cars. Perfect, I thought, safe. I parked right in front of the door, left my engine running, and ran inside. I went into a stall this time just to feel safer. I locked the latch and finally relieved myself. Suddenly, the bathroom door creaked open. I froze. I listened for footsteps. Clip, clop, clip, clop. Slow, heavy boots on tile. They didn't go to the urinal. They didn't go to the sink. They walked straight to my stall and stopped. I held my breath. I looked down in the gap under the door. I saw a pair of worn black work boots standing inches from the door, facing me. My blood ran cold. It was him. I knew it was him. He had followed me. He must have been driving that idling car with the tinted windows, tailing me in the dark without headlights. Silence stretched out for an agonizing minute. He didn't knock. He didn't try the handle. He just stood there, breathing. I could hear his breath, slow, raspy, wet. I finally gathered every ounce of courage I had. "Occupied," I yelled, my voice cracking. No response. The boots didn't move. Panic took over. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. I put it on speakerphone and turned the volume all the way up. 911, what is your emergency? The operator's voice boomed through the quiet bathroom. I shouted back, loud enough for him to hear. I am at the rest stop on I-95 South. I am being cornered in the bathroom by a man who is following me. Send police now. He is threatening me. I waited for the reaction. For a second, nothing happened. Then slowly, the boots turned. The footsteps walked away from the stall, across the tile, and the main door opened and closed. He left, I whispered to the operator. He just left. Stay on the line, she said. Do not leave that stall until officers secure the building. I sat on that toilet for 10 minutes, shaking violently, listening to every creak of the building. Finally, a police officer announced himself. I came out. The bathroom was empty. The parking lot was empty. The man and his car were gone. We checked my car. No trackers, nothing. He had just followed me the old-fashioned way. I gave a statement, but there wasn't much they could do. The officer escorted me back to the highway. I didn't stop again for the rest of the trip. I don't know what that man wanted or what he would have done if I hadn't made that call, but I know one thing. I am never stopping at a deserted rest area at night again.